We'll try not to overstay, but if we do, it's okay. Maybe we could step away. We can love till the break of day. We don't care what the people say. We just go our way. Love is reassuring. It doesn't either way. We're talking about love. Oh, sweet love. Okay. Let's see if I can hear you. You got to turn on your mic and say hello.
Hi, Ace. Sound check.
Ha! Sounds good.
Awesome. I got everything all set up. I finally figured out how to not have duplicate sounds, and well, I don't want to brag because something will go wrong, but
Right.
I usually set things up all wrong. I did it correct today. Hooray! Hi, Ace. How you doing?
Hi, Shug. I like you.
Oh, I like you too, Ace. Ooh, I have coffee too. I don't have anything to say. I just wanted to stop in and say hi.
I'm so glad you did.
You know, I might answer a question or whatever, but I don't have anything to pontificate on.
Well, I have been enjoying Brother Knox's book. It is a delightful book.
I will say something about that book because I remember which one it was. Very early in that book, he made an interesting claim. He said that it won't be what we talked about today. You're going to have to go.
Right.
You'll have to go back to, like, I don't know, 3 weeks ago or something. He made an interesting claim. He claimed, and also this isn't really important. I'm just mentioning it. He made the claim that Jesus would be, that we should expect Jesus to only have good manners. That it would be like logically impossible for Jesus to have bad manners because, you know, it's Jesus. It's everything he did would be good, so he can't have bad manners.
Yeah.
So then he used that as like he used that to make a case. Like he's like, hey, let me prove something to you. And my base case is first I'm going to get you to believe that Jesus would only have good manners. And then I'm going to build on that. And it just jumped out at me. The old Chris, you know, it's like, wait a minute. Jesus did all kinds of rude things, at least by the people around him. And then there's the whole concept that, like, as if there's just one universal set of, like, I might burp here and my the person that made my meal would be offended, but I might go over to another country and burp and the person's like, oh, thank you for the compliment. So this idea that there's just one set of manners that have been universal for all time and Jesus displayed those, it jumped out as me as something that's incorrect. And then he used that to build on, which is fine. One thing I'm personally guilty of is when someone hands me a list of 100 things, I look through it really fast, find one thing I know is false, and then throw the whole list away. That's not really a good idea because there can be wisdom there.
Right. I hope you're learning not to do that.
Well, just barely, maybe a tiny bit sometimes.
Right, because that kind of attitude really pisses me off.
Oh no, that's
because
I'm sorry.
Yeah, because it's real cheesy and small brained to find fault so easy. And I'm not saying that you piss me off. I'm just saying that in general, when I have neighbors or relatives or, I see this with women a lot. You can present a beautiful fucking cake and they'd say, ooh, it's on the wrong kind of cake platter. What the hell is wrong with you? Looking for fault? That pisses me off. Honey, you look beautiful today. What? Didn't I look beautiful yesterday? What exactly are you saying?
It's true.
Fault finding is so easy to do.
Yeah. It's much harder to present a faultless argument than it is to find fault in someone else's argument. I agree. It's a habit I learned when I was young, and it protected me back then. And I think that I don't know that I've shed it. I don't know that I will. I mean, I understand conceptually what you're saying, but like it's really, really important.
It's a
When you
real
go,
natural experience, because you tell the 13-year-old kid to get out there and cut the front lawn, and it's anybody's going to walk out after he cuts the front lawn and say, "Oh, you missed a spot." Everybody does it because the flaw is obvious and the beauty becomes invisible. Oh, you missed a spot. I remember years ago when I divorced Rebecca and I was trying to reconcile with her. She bought a new little house and I helped her move in, or I was helping her remodel it. And the wood floor of the living room needed to be sanded and re-stained. And I did my best, but the damn machine wouldn't get up into this particular corner to sand away all the stuff. So lo and behold, she comes home and she couldn't see the beauty of the rest of the floor. She had to pick out that little spot. Ew, look at that. Oh, God, it pissed me off. I said, you're going to put a couch in front of that anyway. Who the hell cares? I couldn't get it because of the equipment that we were operating on a budget, and you're not paying me for this shit. But she can find fault. And I'm suggesting that we can grow and mature to stop being fault finders. But I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to get there because I still find fault myself.
Well, it has a value, so I need to get to where I'm using it correctly. I mean, I would say I would maybe want to teach my son to, if he was going to go buy a car, to look through everything the car salesman told him and look for things
that would be an important way
true.
to find fault.
And I feel like there are places, or if you're looking to buy a home, that's definitely a good time to be in fault finding mode. But that's all human stuff. I will fully acknowledge that's Chris trying to use his fleshly brain to protect fleshly Chris, and that has nothing to do with faith in God. That's just you and me talking. God doesn't really care whether a used car salesman cheats me. I don't think. I don't know.
Right. He's going to hell if he cheats you.
Well, I mean, if he did, that would be part of the plan, and it's not important. And whether I get cheated on a car or not is not important to my eternal salvation. And so, it's I'm learning, Ace. I'm trying to learn. I still, though, my blink, though, is to that's wrong. I see that. It's wrong.
I know. Isn't that funny?
It's marks to all the nations. I got you. I got you. Marks to all the nations. But I don't want to get you. It's not about that. For me, it's like I want to know the truth. And wow, look, there's something over here that might be the truth. Nope, that's false. Throw it away. Which is, I will readily admit that's stupid because no one knows all the truth. And my favorite part of the thing that you told, I think his name's Justin. I love it when young people come on the show. And I've left a comment about this because you do this all the time. You're like, old people, I used to think that old people knew things. So you shouldn't listen. You can't learn anything from other people. But that wisdom that you can't learn anything from other people is a nugget of wisdom that you can learn from other people. So then you can learn wisdom from other people. But yeah, I love the paradox. It's so much fun. It's all those cliches. I think, like my parents would say, a stitch in time saves 9, or the early bird gets the worm. But until you've lived, until you go, oh, if I go out and trim the blackberries in May, it'll take me 1 hour. If I wait until June, it'll take me 7 hours. And if I wait until July, it'll take me 7 days. That's what stitch in time saves 9 means.
Right.
But then when you get older and wiser, you'll learn that you will go trim the blackberries in May, because you don't want to do 7 hours of work in June. And there's always some selfish human that swoops in, and a lot of times they're an ex-wife. When you accumulate stuff so your future's better, there's always someone, there's always some ant or grass. Which is it? The ant that steals the grasshopper? The grasshopper
what is it? What the hell
fiddle?
is this tool here? This is trash. Throw this away. But today it came in handy. Every time I wanted to underline something, I used it as a guide to make my finger go straight, you know. What the hell is this? This looks like trash.
Oh, do you want to open that app and look? I think one of your options, you can change your line from the ability to draw a squiggly line. You can change it to make all lines perfectly straight with one of your drop-down options, I believe.
Yeah, I do believe that's true.
If you
And
care
I
about
have
that.
done that, yeah. But I think it's more interesting to have the squiggly line, even if it's real error prone. It's more interesting to me. So I'm doing it for myself. So bite me if you don't like it.
You're wise, Ace. I don't know why I come on this show. Just to say hi.
I'm glad you do, because I'm just saying hi to you.
I don't know anything really. I mean,
so
I
want to hear one of my favorite cliches?
Huh?
Want to hear one of my favorite cliches?
Yes.
I picked it up way back when I was 25 or so. Appearance is everything. Reality is nothing.
Yeah.
See, and it's not true. That is not true, but that is what you can say to somebody who is all into appearance. Oh yeah, appearance is everything. Reality is nothing. It's sarcastic. It's the opposite. Reality is what's true. Appearance is really nothing. But I just love, over the years, ever since the 70s, I've used it on a number of occasions when somebody is all Twitter about, proper appearance. Yeah, appearance is everything. Reality is nothing.
Oh, my kitty's in the background.
I see her.
Hi, Homa. Let's show off my kitty cleaning herself. Because I know you guys want to watch my cat.
I know. It gives me the heebie-jeebies.
Nothing better than that.
Yeah, it gives me the heebie-jeebies, and I love the heebie-jeebies.
That's top-notch entertainment, man. You're awesome, Ace. I should go outside. I could smoke outside. Oh, I wonder if I have a good... I think it's basil. I'm not sure what it is. It's this naturally growing plant that grew. And I saw I get these golden digger wasp. They're about an inch and a half long. They're beautiful, just a beautiful orangey gold color. And they like the basil. I don't know if it's basil. It was here when we got here, and I just keep weeding around it, and it just gets bigger every year. And my wife waters it.
Nice.
But I could right now walk outside with my phone, and if I don't lose my Wi-Fi, I could show you a wasp if you're interested in that. I'm watching your face. You're like, probably not.
No, I don't want to lose you. That's what I'm thinking.
I love you, Ace.
I don't want to lose you to the hell of Wi-Fi weakness.
It probably wouldn't reach that long. What do you know, Ace? You got something to tell me today?
Well, since the general theme is on that book that we just read, when I first read that book some 45 years ago, it really kind of changed my life in that I could see that the Bible wasn't just one way, because I believed in hell and free will and all that crap, right? And Brother Knock, in that little 70-page book, pulled more depth from the Bible than I had ever seen before. And he acknowledges, yes, there are a bunch of passages that seem to say eternal torment. And there are some passages that seem to say permanent annihilation. But check this out. There's also plenty of passages that say universal reconciliation, vivification, justification. So how do we deal with the three? And when I asked Jill and Preterist, Jill believes in eternal torment. Preterist believes in annihilation. Come on, boys, which one is right? They say, well, the Bible isn't clear. but it certainly doesn't teach universal reconciliation, but it does teach one or the other. It's just not clear. I think that's hilarious that they will not commit exactly to annihilation or torment, and they admit that either one of those positions is not clear. But if they're not clear, then how come universal reconciliation is out of the picture altogether? Yeah. Bastards.
That's a good question. I think you said there was some dark psychology at play.
Yeah. Yeah, so they love.
You know, when I see them on this show and they're behaving and you're talking to them and they're kind of following along, every time I get optimistic, today's the day. I don't know what's wrong with me. And then they disappoint me.
Mm-hmm. Well, anyway, so I read the book in 1980. And it really like opened my mind that the Bible is bigger and more beautiful than I'd ever been taught before as a Christian for many years. And now I'm reading it again some 40 years later, and I'm going, wow, a lot of this material went right over my head. Even though I believed and it changed my life, having not read it for many, many years, I look back on it in my memory and I think, oh yeah, this is a cute little book. It makes a clear statement. But now I'm reading it these days, the last month or so, and I'm going, wait a minute. I didn't realize it was this deep. I didn't remember that it was this deep and this complex and this exacting with regard to definition of words, how the scriptures are used, what the Greek might mean, the time and scope, the limitations. He really did a great job with this little book. And I'm surprised at how beautiful it is. And I'm thinking that I should encourage brothers and sisters to read this maybe once a year.
Yeah, and talking about things that aren't good in it is the opposite of that. But I'm telling myself that. Oh, this was the thing you had up. That was so much fun. Oh, I'm not going to bring it up because I ain't doing it.
Go ahead.
Nope.
Yes, I insist.
Okay. That was the thing you had up when you had some of your 5 normal panel people here, and they all got to be a temporary Sunday school teacher at the Antioch Baptist Church. That's my favorite episode that you've done the last 3 weeks.
Wasn't that
I
fun?
watched all of them, but I love that episode. And everyone handled it different. It's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. Some of them let you see inside their head. I think 2 of them, they put a lens. They would both say what they did and why. Some of them just said what they did. That was very helpful. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, and when I took over and said what I would do in front of the Sunday school class, in my mind, I'm trying to honor those people in the class, where they stand right now, how they understand things, and I'm trying to gently guide them into seeing that there's more to the story than meets the eye. Instead of just flat out telling them, you're wrong, and being abrasive, I wanted to gently bring them in and say, well, the Bible does say eternal torment. The Bible does say annihilation. The Bible does say universal reconciliation. How do we solve the problem here? We can't have all 3 being the truth because.
I remember that, Ace. I definitely, I don't think I permanently learned it because I'm self-righteous and I'm a knucklehead, but sometimes I comprehend that whole, and again, there's a cliche, you got to meet people where they are is the cliche, but to explain it more, you literally first you have to understand where they are, and then you have to lead them where you want them to go, tiny little step at the way. But that makes it sound like fleshly Chris is trying to do something with his fleshly brain, and now we're getting off track because actually I'm not supposed to do anything. I just relax and God has it. But I could change. I was thinking, I don't know how to change my name. You know how you guys change your name? I could change my name to Sandpaper.
You go to your little icon and click the 3 buttons right by the mic. 3 dots right by the mic.
Oh, yeah.
And then one of them is edit name.
I'll look for it later when everyone's
Edit name. What do you want it to say?
Sandpaper.
Yeah, funny.
To remind me not to be abrasive. Sandpick.
Is that what you said?
No, sandpaper.
Oh, sandpaper.
You were talking about not being abrasive, and I'm like, yeah, I could work on that. I should name myself Sandpaper, and it'll help remind me not to be abrasive.
So I came into this long about 1980. And so I started going down to the meetings of the Concordant Publishing Concern. They were only 90 miles from me at the time, right? So it was a nice little drive. And they would have
90
meetings.
90 miles or 9 miles?
90.
Oh, committed. Okay.
I lived in Santa Barbara. The operation, the Concordant Publishing Concern, was located in Canyon Country, California at the time. And they would have meetings once a month, maybe twice a month. I forgot. But a wonderful thing happened at the meetings on a regular basis, right? There's a shallowness on Ace Theo channel on a regular basis because we have to deal with the opposers who come in and say eternal hell is really real and annihilation is really real. So there's a shallowness where we're having to rehash that crap over and over again, right? Because a fresh new face will come in and we got to deal with free will and eternal hell and all that stuff. But at the meetings of the Concordant Publishing Concern, they didn't have opposers coming in all the time. And so they could teach the Bible or they could teach Paul's evangel without fear of contradiction. So they didn't have to backtrack all the time. And so at the meetings, there was some really beautiful material that came out of their teaching because they didn't have to deal with the opposers. And so they could get on with more important things and more spiritual things. And those were some really lovely meetings. And the two consistent teachers were Jim Coram and Dean Huff. And I'm bragging on them, see. And I remember one meeting, Dean Huff was talking about the will of God. And he brought out how that we in the Christian world constantly use the phrase the will of God as if it is something you must do. God will. What's God's will? He wants you to stop sinning. That's what God's will is. He wants you to stop sinning. But Dean said, why can't we see the will of God as something God is doing? Because the human will is, what we're doing or what we want and what we're going to accomplish. Why can't we look at the will of God as that which God is doing and God is accomplishing? It was a great little sermon. And then on another occasion, he was talking about the cross of Christ and how that the general view out there is that the cross is either one of three things. The cross is something you hang around your neck, right? A piece of jewelry, or you might put it up on your living room wall with Jesus hanging on the cross or something like that. It's a piece of jewelry or decoration. Or you enter into the real mystical brand of Christianity, and the cross is the pain you must suffer. I must bear my cross for God. I must beat myself. I must rejoice in every tear. And then he said, what if the cross is actually the work of God that he accomplished on that great day? And it has little to nothing to do with our own personal suffering. And it certainly isn't a piece of jewelry we hang around our neck. Anyway, that was a great sermon. And let me give you another testimony. Both Jim and Dean and any other Bible teacher there, they weren't grandstanders. You know what I mean by grandstander? They weren't teaching like they had all the authority. They were really humble in their presentations and studious. And they were like mad scientists. Oh, look what I discovered about this verb and this vocabulary. And oh, look at the, how ancient, and how the development. It was just really fun to listen to these guys. They were true Bible students. Anyway, that's it.
I have I've listened to several of Hugh's
You mean Dean Huff?
messages from Concordant.
Uh-huh.
Sorry, who?
Dean Huff, you mean?
That's probably that doesn't sound right. I feel like I've heard the other one, because when I found you months ago, you had sent me to concordant.org, and there's audio versions of some of these sermons.
Right, by Jim Coram and Dean Huff.
Huff. Okay, I'm mispronouncing it.
Hough. Dean Huff.
I always say, yeah, I've mispronounced that. No wonder I can't figure out who you guys are talking about. I see that word and I read it Hugh.
Okay.
Or something.
Go ahead.
I remember, but I quit listening to those. But there is some good stuff there. I will acknowledge that.
Right. And when you listen to Dean Hugh, doesn't he sound humble as pie?
Yeah.
I mean, he's not bombastic or argumentative. He's just like a serious consideration of the scriptures and the Word of God.
I think I would like to try to find. Of course, you have helped me. I no longer hate the Bible, and I no longer hate Paul. Those are two things that have happened through this show. Not you, but through this show. Of course, God, of course. I've been thinking lately about finding a local church so that I can interact with some people in person, with all the pros and cons that come with that. And I wouldn't even have stepped in church for 20 years if I hadn't come onto this show. But I now understand that you can look up denominations and they have some different fundamentalist beliefs. Fundamental. I meant different fundamental beliefs. And I think I would seek out a universalist church, and I think I would probably look for somebody that tolerates people that are still maybe, I think it's called compatibilism. And I mean, it's not required, but I figured I'd have the best chance of having the best discussions with people like we have on this show if their base philosophy was at least whatever. You understand what I'm talking about. And I live in a big enough town. There are probably some universalist churches here, probably in walking distance. Something I'm going to do in the near future. But I'll still come by and visit you guys. But it would be cool to do this in real life, because you guys live. I don't know why so many amazing people come on this show, but you're so one's in Canada, one's in Salt Lake, one's in
Australia, Alabama,
Illinois.
Georgia.
Maybe somebody's around Idaho or something, but I don't know. None of you are my neighbors. You're just my virtual neighbors, sadly, because you're great people. Great people. Great people.
So if you go there, let me think out loud with you, right? Not that I'm telling you what to do, but if you go there and you want to get in with them, for sure, keep your mouth shut for a while. Because if you come in with bombastic questions, oh my God, you're going to get kicked out right away.
Should I wear my sandpaper cloak?
Yeah. At least keep your mouth shut for a while so that people will like you and pass the chicken, to you and the corned beef hash and the potatoes and gravy at the potluck suppers, right? And I did this. I got kicked out of 7 different churches. And the more I went, the more I realized how valuable it was to keep my mouth shut. And the last one I got kicked out of, I had been there long enough to where they asked me to take over a Sunday school class.
So your made up story was not really that made up.
No, they asked me to take over a Sunday school class.
Was you going to Universalist church, or you're going to some fundamentalist church keeping your head down?
It was a Vineyard Church or a Calvary Chapel. I can't remember which. To me, they're both the same. And those are fundamentalist churches of the charismatic persuasion. They don't speak in tongues very much, but they believe in speaking in tongues, right?
Mhm.
So they're not, from my estimation of the whole thing, the Pentecostals are blue collar workers, a lot of plumbers and car mechanics at the Pentecostal churches. But once you get a job with a white shirt and a necktie, you move over to the charismatic churches. It's a
Okay.
cultural dynamic thing, right? An economic thing. And so Calvary Chapel and the Vineyard are charismatic. So they're a lot more. Instead of car mechanics, there's real estate agents there and loan officers and, blue necktie job guys. Anyway, but at the last one, the last church before I got kicked out, I kept my mouth shut until one day they asked me to take over a Sunday school class, and then all hell broke loose.
Oh, I wish I had been in that Sunday school class. You should have taped it. I actually want to find a church that is kind of like the Ace Theo show. I don't want to have to pretend for a year and then go, surprise, I don't believe with you guys. I'm hoping to find some, some Seans and some Lawrences and some Debs and some Aces and some Mac the Humans and those people.
Well, you might be
the
able
ones that don't live on the other side of the globe.
Mm-hmm. So, let's see. I went to one church. They were a spinoff of the Plymouth Brethren, like 3 generations from the Plymouth Brethren. The Plymouth Brethren don't believe in one grandstanding church preacher. They believe in that everybody should have a chance to speak, and you should not speak for more than, say, 10 minutes, and then sit down and let somebody else speak, and then sit down and let somebody else speak. That's a typical Plymouth Brethren mentality. And so I started going there. I only went one time, right? And so when this person and this person spoke, I caught on to the movement, right? I stood up and spoke for about 5 or 10 minutes on grace and how it's a cool thing and how we find grace mostly in Paul's letters. And there's a kind of a division between Paul and the rest of the Bible. And Paul is grace, 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 grace. But anyway, some of the people were like, their eyes lit up with happiness, cool, this sounds great. And then after the church service ended, the elders cornered me and said, you can't come back until you get with the eldership here and get your doctrine approved. We don't want you speaking anymore. You can come back, but you can't speak anymore. And I, well, why come back, One church I remember, exiting myself, right? Because the preacher was up there and his attitude was grandstanding. He just loved himself, right? And he was so self-righteous, right? Which is the title of today's show right up there. Self-righteousness has to be the greatest of all sins. So this grandstanding preacher, and I think it was a Calvary Chapel. It was a large Calvary Chapel in Santa Barbara, or it might have been a Vineyard. I can't remember. But before he even started his sermon, I was up in the balcony, and there was 3 or 4 young teenage boys, 13 years old, not big teenagers, small teenagers. And they were wearing baseball caps up in the balcony, behaving themselves. And that damn preacher pointed them out and said, how dare you wear a baseball hat in the house of God? I said, oh, God, let me out of here. I just left. I couldn't believe that he was making a spectacle of them for wearing baseball caps up in the balcony.
Yep.
Even in the 70s, I remember going to a Church of God on the East Coast, where this Pentecostal Church of God, and I brought a Coca-Cola in to the service with me, right, before it ever started. And some sister with that little bun and a long dress, she said, how dare you bring a Coca-Cola into the house of God? I don't remember how it ended. I think, well, I'm thirsty. Sorry. I didn't get kicked out, but she was pretty self-righteous about her not bringing food into the temple of God. And it wasn't a temple, it was a ramshackle building, barely qualifying to get, a building permit. It was just cheesy as hell because they were blue collar, right? There wasn't much money being spent among them to make a temple, but yet she called it the temple of God. And it was just, a wood building with a couple of windows and maybe a steeple.
I got kicked out. I mean, I already told that story on here, but I had a baseball cap on, and I think it was an Assembly of God.
Oh, I went to a
Shelbyville,
lot of
Indiana.
those.
I'll call them out. Shelbyville, Indiana, Assembly of God. My brother said, go to church, go to church, go to church, go to church. So, and my hair was not very nice. So I put a baseball cap on to look more presentable. I was honestly, sincerely trying to look more presentable, but I didn't I didn't own a suit. I didn't own none of that crap. And I walked in there and it was like what you said. It wasn't the preacher, but it was a deacon or whatever his job is. Hats must not be worn in the sanctuary. Just so much anger and in his voice. I just left. I just left. I don't know. Whatever, man. Whatever. Of course, this is just me trashing on Christians, but because I'm self-righteous. But I have not been to church for like 20 years.
Uh-huh.
But my wife dragged me to a funeral when someone died, and that was one of the worst. I mean, it's probably worse for the dead people, and I didn't know the guy, but the preacher was like, and this guy died when he was in his 50s, and he goes, "This guy lived life his way," and just it was like a 30-minute sermon about why this guy's choices caused him to die at the young age of 50-something, and why us who don't sin and are older or wiser than you stupid idiot heathens. Oh,
I tell you,
disgusting. I hated that. I hated that. I don't understand the purpose.
Generally speaking, the Christian message breeds self-righteousness, arrogance, and pride. I would never get drunk like he gets drunk on Sunday. I'd wait till Saturday night and then get drunk.
I mean, the preacher was kind of right. This guy's lifestyle did lead to his early death, but it just seems so incredibly, it was so cruel to the family members that were there. Like, I just couldn't, that was the part that was so hard. It was like, this is a funeral for someone who's died and their family members are here, and you're making, I mean, I guess, he's right. It was the only time I was going to be in church in the next 2 decades. So it was a chance to get me, but turned me on.
Right. What if you were giving that funeral message? What would you say?
Oh boy, that's a good one. I almost didn't bring up the Antioch Baptist thing because I'm like, I ain't going to do it, but let me try. I'll make an effort to do this. Well, his name's Bob. We'll just make up a name, Bob.
The dead boy is Bob?
Bob. Bob's dead.
Okay.
Hey, thank you guys for gathering to celebrate Bob's life and to talk about what is going up next for Bob. As you know, Scripture points out in many different places that eventually everyone will return to God. And so you can rest assured that we will be with Bob again. And I don't know, let's party and play some music. That's all I got. But I certainly wouldn't condemn everyone in the audience for their lifestyle, not at the funeral. But teach their own, because I'm condemning him right now. Like right now, I'm saying I'm better than the preacher. I wouldn't do that. So whatever, man, whatever.
Did you ever see the first episode of Monk?
My wife watches Monk, and I've walked through. Is he the guy that's kind of on the spectrum and sees everything and solves crimes?
Yeah.
That who we're talking about? I haven't seen the first episode. I've just walked through. I'm vaguely familiar with it.
Okay, so speaking of funerals, right? he's up in the balcony at this funeral. And of course, he's on the spectrum, right? He's ACDC or whatever the hell the vocabulary is. He's up there fidgeting around, and he can't sit still, can't pay attention. He drops his car keys into the casket.
Oh no!
On the chest of the dead man.
Oh no!
He just happens to have a bunch of dental floss in his pocket because he's always flossing his teeth, and he's got a paper clip. So he designs a fish hook, and he lowers down the fish hook to retrieve his car keys while the preacher is talking to the audience, right? And the preacher says, "Is there anybody here who has any objections that we close this service now?" And he accidentally snags the guy's arm. He makes the arm fly up in the air.
That's awesome. No, I've not seen that.
Yeah, it is funny. I was laughing and laughing.
Humor's good. Ooh, anyone else want to come on the show?
Oh, Sean does.
Chris runs away. Ooh, I have to say hi to Sean first. I'll probably run away pretty soon, though.
Right. Come on, Sean. Come on, Hatch. Come on, Rocky Bid.
I remember Hatch just because you asked him about his name and he had told you some cool things.
Mm-hmm.
And Linda, or no, it was Deborah. I forget if it's Deb or Linda. Deb. My apologies. Linda's the bad person. Deborah.
She's not
Deborah
bad.
She's just hitched.
She's just little.
I don't want to offend the wrong person. I gotta offend the right person. Sean, come on the show. I want to hear your laugh in person. Whoa, Sean's with cattle prods at the roulette table. What's going on?
They did the same stuff to Lonnie Frisbee at Calvary Chapel.
Oh, yeah. There should be roulette wheels in the churches. That would help.
Yeah, so this book I think is absolutely interesting. And for 70 pages, it covers a universe of thought.
What is it? $6.95 at the Concord. It's free if you just want to read it, though. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's true. I'm going to take that back. Many documents are free there. I don't know about this one.
This one is free. In fact, I got it right here. I'm looking at the PDF. Hey, you want to see the table of contents?
It's massive.
Yeah. Why don't you read the table of contents for us?
Sure. There's the foreword, God's glory and man's good at stake.
Wow.
Then there's the problem stated and the solution that's going to be indicated. And then there's traditional beliefs that are not found in the Bible. That is something we talk about on this show.
Mm-hmm.
The scriptures reveal, not veil, not veil, the deity. Then they talk about the immortality of the soul, man's alleged free will, human responsibility.
Right. What a great topic that is.
I think human responsibility is nothing, but I haven't read that yet. That's what I learned on this show.
Right.
Man changes his
We
will.
should be talking about God's responsibility.
That's right.
Because if God is not responsible, then God is irresponsible.
God's responsible for everything, and man is responsible for nothing. Sometimes it's like, well, what should I do today then? It's like, oh, I really wanted to do something. I wanted to go get God's glasses so he could see who needs to be seen.
Right, yeah.
But God can get his own glasses. Man, what am I going to do today? I'll just go play with my wasp, I guess. Go eat, play with my wasp. Oh, I'm supposed to be I'll read the concordant. Whatever this thing is. Man changes his will. Interesting. Yeah, but man can't change his will. Oh, they're all capitalized because... No, they're not always capitalized. That his is capitalized, so I'm supposed to believe it's God. Man can't change God's will.
When you're making up a table of contents, you capitalize every word because it aids in readership.
I thought that too, but when you go down 2 more lines, he was inconsistent, not according to God's word.
Yeah, well, inconsistencies are a thing.
Yeah. We shouldn't focus on them, though. So man changes man's will. Does God will or wish? God definitely wills. Heaven or hell? An unscriptural idea. Lots of talk about that on this show. Saved or lost? Not really in God's word, I guess. Not in the way we talk about it. The kingdom and salvation.
Oh, yeah, that's a good chapter. 2 different things.
Yeah, and we get them. Some people get them mixed up. Essentials for salvation. That's a good chapter, I bet. All lost first. All lost first. Oh, we have to lose everything first. But we don't have to do anything. God makes us lose everything, and then God gives us everything. We do nothing. The essentials for salvation is nothing for man. It's for God to take away everything and give it all back. And more, or something. Will faith always be necessary for salvation? Yes, but it's Jesus's faith or God's faith, but not man's faith.
Right.
The climax of Revelation, and Paul's epistles. Christendom apostate? Is that the right word? Apostate?
Right.
Christendom apostate. It has rejected Paul. True. I learned that on this show too. Endless death denies the abolition of death.
Oh my God. Someone tell the preterist.
Are we looking for death or Christ? We're looking for Christ. Focus on the Christ. Stop focusing on the death.
I got a good idea for the Annihilationist book title. Death Wins.
It's cute.
There's Sean's laugh. Thank you, Sean.
Heard Sean's laugh in a while. How long I haven't heard it.
No more sacrifice for sins. Oh, I'm sorry. I talked over somebody.
No, I was talking over you.
Yeah, I'm ready to take off if you guys want to talk. I don't really need to read all of these. Unless Ace really wants me to. I'm willing to.
I love you. Any excuse to hold you here, to chain you down. I own you.
Is the ex-fundamentalist, is that Justin?
You.
Yes, that's Justin, yeah.
Hi, Justin.
Hey.
I thought so.
How are you?
If anyone else ever has a crow for a head, I'll get everyone mixed up. But right now, I'm like, oh, that's Justin, the crow.
Yeah. Sean the eagle.
I always forget Sean's name, but I'm going to stop doing that.
Yeah, it's either Sean or Scene. I'm not sure.
Yeah, Sean.
I know, I'm joking.
Scene.
Whoa.
Scene.
Yeah.
That'd be a trip.
You and your mysterious
It looks
H.
like it's spelled that way. Scene.
Did Satan take the H, Sean?
Yeah.
What's that?
Did Satan take your H?
Or did God take it?
Yeah, he had to use it for hell.
Take the H from Sean's name, and you have.
I used to be a member of LinkedIn back when I was all business all the time. There was a guy who posted on LinkedIn a lot, and his name was Jeff, G-E-F. And one day somebody asked him why isn't it G-E-F-F? He said, well, somebody needed an F, and now I don't have an F, so I don't give an F.
That's awesome. Yeah, actually, I think my mom named me that, S-E-A-N, and I don't know why. I think it was a James Bond movie back in the 60s or some shit like that.
Sean Connery?
Yeah, there was a Dr. No or one of those older ones in 64. I think that's where she kind of pulled that out of. I think that's why they didn't put an H in there.
I just don't like the English language when it does stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's nothing against you, Sean.
Oh, no. It's all good, man. You can call me whatever you want. Just don't call me late for dinner. That's it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Dad's side's got a little Scottish and Irish in it. So a little bit.